Podcast. Real conversations with the people behind Bristol's businesses.
So today I'm joined by Nathan Millett, founder of Naru Landscape, a family-run business providing bespoke outdoor spaces across Bristol and the southwest. Before launching the business, Nathan served in the Avon and Somerset Police Force, and today we're going to be talking about his reasons for leaving that career, what made him take the leap into landscaping, and what it means to run a value-led business with family at the heart. So let's dive in. Hello, Nathan.
Hi.
You good?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Good stuff. So let's start with your time in the police. What originally attracted you to that career path?
So it was kind of by accident, really. I was one of those people that a careers officer at school said, the only thing you're going to be doing is, something in uniform, army, police, that type of thing. So I think I had that in my head. When I left school, there was a brief flirtation with professional rugby, which kind of ended with an injury, which is what I thought at that time when I was that age at 18. Now I'm a little bit older than 18. I'm wise enough to know that I just didn't put enough effort in, didn't have the right mindset, and that's why that didn't happen. So then, having left school, gone into rugby, and then that didn't work, I kind of left with nothing else that I was qualified to do, kind of put all my eggs in one basket there. So I always had in the back of my mind that this careers teacher said, well, you'll be one of these roles. So after I finished with rugby, I had quite a few mates of mine down at Caterham Rugby Club who were in the trades, and they gave me various different labouring jobs in a couple of those different trades. And at that time, I kind of thought, this is what I want to be doing. So I was 23 around then. I just didn't quite have, maybe the guts is the right word, to just go for it and go into a trade at that point. So I had this idea that I would join the fire brigade and do what many other firemen do and work a trade on your days off, on their rest days. So that's how I ended up going towards a uniform role. Didn't get into the fire brigade. And then the next thought I had was, well, what about the police? So I filled out all the application forms, and then within a couple of months, before I'd really thought about what I was doing, there I was, day one of training school. And that's how I ended up in the police.
What ultimately led you to step away from the force?
So I had to be medically retired in the end due to PTSD, which, I know a lot about now, but I now realise that grew over sort of 10, 12 years without me doing anything about it. And it was kind of a bravado atmosphere or culture at that time, and not as a criticism, that's just the way it was, that you didn't actually take notice that you had any issues because everyone else around you just got on with it. So you fell into just getting on with it. And that came to a point where I was unable to manage some of the issues I was having. And then the police were really good. I had some really good counselling for a few years. But it got to the point where it wasn't something I could do anymore. So they've medically retired me, which led me to a point of thinking, what next? So landscaping did come next, but that's not completely out the blue. I'd always kept in touch with a bit of gardening in my days off. Back in 2017, 18, I even had a business on our rest days with another colleague doing landscaping, and that got to the point where we got too busy and had to kind of pack it in, really, because our rest days didn't align anymore. So we couldn't run the business. But it wasn't out of nowhere that I suddenly decided to go to landscaping. So there is a history of it part-time for, almost that whole 20 years.
Cool. And was there a turning point that made you realise that landscaping is kind of like your future, your calling?
There was, and it involves my son, who I'm in business with as well. So after I left the police, the job I was doing after that was sports coaching and mentoring at schools through a company called Switch Rugby in Bristol. So there was a point where I thought that's where my kind of next career was going to go, because I've coached rugby for quite some time as well, and I just thought that was a natural progression. But I always had this thought in the back of my mind: I miss the landscaping. I wish there was a way back to that. Yeah. At this point, my son was studying to be an electrician, and he was in kind of year 2 of that, and he got to the point where he realised that perhaps that wasn't the trade he wanted to be in, wasn't enjoying himself, so he stopped that, or left it, without anything to go to. So I kind of step in at that point, about to have a father-son type conversation in our local pub, and said, what are you doing with yourself? And he seemed a little bit lost. And then, this thought was still in the back of my mind of, I want to do landscaping again. So I said to him, just off the cuff, do you want to do landscaping with me? And we started a business together. And he was straight away, yes, he really wanted to do it. And within half an hour, we had a name for the business and a logo designed on our phone. Yeah. And that was it. That's where we started. So that was just over a year ago now.
Cool. Is that the same logo you've got today?
Yep, that's the one. Yeah. So the name comes from the first 2 letters of both our first names put together. So I'm Nathan, he's Ruben. Yeah. We put those together and came up with a Naru. And then a week later, because quite a few people asked us, what does the name mean? He Googled the word Naru, and it's a Japanese word for new beginnings.
What a coincidence. What a happy accident.
Seems to fit perfectly.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I mean, and it goes back that a lot of these things just happen by accident, and it's so apt as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it felt good. It kind of felt it was meant to be. And I don't normally believe in those sorts of things, but that was quite a big moment. Yeah, where you kind of think, well, that is such a weird way to come up with that name, and to find out that it means something that is appropriate to the two of us as well. It's a perfect name.
Something in the stars. Yeah. It's like I say, I'm not a huge believer in that, but how do you not believe?
Exactly, there's got to be something in it.
Yeah. So it's big switch, isn't it, from the police to landscaping? How did friends and extended family, because I'm assuming, if you're saying about your son, that your immediate family probably knew you were heading into landscaping, but what about extended friends and family?
No one was surprised. And everyone says that's what you're supposed to be doing, which is, it's a nice feeling, because I kind of feel that somewhere inside, but it's nice to hear from other people that they think that's what you should be doing, that's where your strengths are, and no one said, what on earth are you doing that for? Yeah. So it was a really good kind of supportive feeling that everyone around me feels the same way that I do.
Can we talk about your Bristol roots?
Yeah, so Bristol born and bred, just on the outskirts of Bristol around Keynsham. So I mentioned Keynsham Rugby Club before, so I was brought up playing rugby there, minis, and then later on in senior rugby as well. So always lived around the sort of east side of Bristol, living warmly now, so it's all fairly local around that area. So that's why we really love serving Bristol and Bath as well, because we've always lived in that spot right between the two. So we've always, enjoyed what both cities have to offer.
Yeah. It's just an amazing city, isn't it? You might be able to tell by my accent I'm not local, but I've just, fully adopted Bristol. I just love everything about it. Used to work in Bristol city centre for ages, and how can you not just fall in love with the city? Because it's like a mix between a really big city, but it's also kept a smaller city kind of friendliness.
And it's definitely got its artistic and entrepreneurial culture. I think it still sticks to that.
Yeah, and it's a hotbed for tech as well.
Yeah.
It's some really great tech companies. So yeah,
But I'm only learning now to enjoy like Bristol city centre for what it is.
Yeah.
Because of my last job, every time I was in Bristol, it was for negative reasons. So that really does kind of taint your view of a place, and it makes it really difficult to enjoy it. But now I'm away from that. Like in the summer, we had a team building day down in Bristol city centre. Went around the waterfront, those types of things, and it's you realise it is a really good city. I've just been kind of exposed to a negative side of it, and you assume that's what everything's like every day, but it's not, and it is a fantastic city.
no, definitely. So, what was the first year of business like?
Good, because we're not out of business, so that's a good thing. A really steep learning curve. So the biggest learning curve for me is marketing and sales, and having a marketing system in place so people actually know who you are and what you do. Which is quite tricky. So in the police, I don't have to look for work. It was there 24 hours a day, constantly. So I've never been in a role where I've had to think about where's the work coming from. So that's been my steepest learning curve in the first year is becoming a marketing and salesperson.
Yeah. How did you find that challenge? Because I'm in marketing and sales myself, and I know it's a complete different skill set to either the police force or landscaping. So how did you find that learning curve?
I think first of all, I tried to turn myself into a salesperson, which I'm not. And now I've come full circle and realised I don't need to be a salesperson. I just need to tell people what we do and how passionate we are about it, and then show the results and let that do its own thing, rather than me, trying to be someone I'm not and trying to sell someone something, which they will pick up straight away that I'm being unnatural. So that's a learning curve, and luckily I've come full circle on that now, and we've just got systems in place to keep getting the word out there of who we are and where they can find us.
And how's the business grown or evolved from the early days?
So we've evolved quite early on. So we started doing your traditional type landscaping jobs, and then you realise there's a lot of people that do that and do it well as well. So it's quite a kind of saturated environment for choice for homeowners to go and find a landscaper. So I kind of thought early on, well, we need to be something else for people, something different. So that's why I realised it was right in front of me all along, and that is leaning on my journey through PTSD and all the counselling I've had, and how I got myself out of that. And that led us to wellness gardens and specialising in wellness gardens and wellness spaces. So I did do a online landscape design course, and from that I kind of noticed that the generic principles of landscape and garden design, they're focused mostly on the space available, a little bit on the person and their needs, but mostly on the space and what fits where, that type of thing. So I spent a good 2 or 3 months working in the background, and we've come up with our 10-point design system for wellness spaces and wellness gardens. And that brings the focus back round to the person. What can the space do for them, and how can it make them feel? And I know that probably sounds to people like, it's going to be sitting in the middle of some trees doing yoga somewhere. It's not just that. That is a sanctuary for some people, but it's not for everyone. It could even be an outdoor kitchen and dining area. That could be someone's sanctuary of how they switch off, how they relax from their work. It could even be as extreme as someone who does CrossFit or high rocks. Yeah. They could have an outdoor gym area in their garden. That doesn't sound like a wellness space, but to that person, that is their activity that they enjoy, and it switches them off. So it's a design system that is focused on the person and how can it improve their emotional state.
So a complete one-to-one bespoke project.
Yeah. And it can be a full garden makeover, or it could be as simple as one seating area. Like, where does someone have a cup of coffee before they go to work or when they come back from work? It could just be one seat with some planting in pots around them or flower beds, and there's movement in those plants, and it's a switch off zone where they can just have a bit of calm before they go off to work or after they come back from work.
Awesome. So let's talk about running a family business. So what are the pros and cons of working so closely with family members?
So far, I've only found pros. Me and my son, we get on really well, and that helps in business. We can argue quite well, so that helps. It doesn't carry on going home. We know if we're having a disagreement about something or a heated debate about how we should do something, that is because we both want to do the best job possible, not because we're getting at each other. So it's very easy to switch off from that when it's home time, go back to being father and son.
Yeah.
I do feel a little bit of pressure as I'm learning about business. Obviously, one day I want to hand it over to him as well, and then I take a step back because I'm getting old. So there's a pressure that I find of working out what it is I've learned, how can I pass that on to him best without completely overloading him with all these new things that I've just learned as well. Yeah. So that's the hardest part for me, is to get in my mind, what is it I've learned, what does he need to know for the future, and when do I allow him to learn that or tell him those bits without completely putting him off, because he's 21. So, he's got life to live as well as a young person in their 20s. And I don't want to overload him with business learnings that I've found. And then he's like, oh, I'm a bit fed up with this now. So that's the trickiest part. But yeah, aside from that, it works really well as a family business.
So it's not just a business, it's a legacy, isn't it? That you want to pass down.
Yeah, and then he'll take it his own way at that point. But yeah, that's the good part of a family business, is there's something to hand down that someone else can carry on as well.
Cool. So how do you divide the responsibilities and make sure everything just runs smooth?
So I'm in charge of operations, so how the business operates, so all those background systems. I deal with all the accountants and those types of things, because that is something that would put someone off coming into a business. And there's a lot of stuff to learn around that. But he is in charge of all of our resources. So eventually he'll be in charge of the staff we take on. I'll help him with that a little bit, because I know some bits around kind of HR, and being in charge of people from the police. But yeah, he's in charge of the equipment we use, what we're going to buy next, how often does it get serviced, all those types of things. So he has got some responsibility for that side of it, and then I've got the responsibility for the operations side. So in starting up, my side appears to be a little bit more workload. As that gets easier and we've got systems in place, I think his side will start to get a little bit more workload. So it's just slowly building him up into a point where he's managing something.
Awesome. So do you feel that the family values show up in how you address clients, how you deal with clients? Do you think the family values show in the business?
I think definitely, because we're focused on what the people want. And not just turning up because we want to make a profit out of this person. We're going to tell them this is what they're going to have. It's not the type of people we are. That wouldn't sit well with us. And I know there might be business models that will make you the most successful for a certain amount of time, but it's not the business we want. So we're not going to go in that direction. We are focused on what do the people want, and when we're there, we are people that they want in their gardens. We're respectful. We turn up when we say we're going to turn up. We're transparent with all of our communication. So if we're going to be late for something, we let people know, because that's what we'd expect to be treated like. So that's how we behave in our business as well.
Awesome. So what's your favourite type of project to work on?
Ones that are really tricky. So real problem it's a real stress halfway, when you're in it and doing it. But the best ones are someone who says they're lost. And a lot of people are really negative about the space they've got and their gardens. When the first time we go to see them, the first thing they say is, "Sorry about this mess." They talk their gardens down too much. But the best bit for me is to take someone from that, go through, our design or just a bit of simple advice from us, and what we're going to do. And then we go through the stressful part in the middle with the problem solving and how we're going to get to this. And it's that end point where you come and show them on the last day, this is what we've done. This is how you look after this from now on. And they get that wow factor, and they give you that response that, is almost overwhelming to them, that they had the space that they hated to now a space that they loved. That is my favourite part of it, is that end bit where we've given them something that, and it's going to sound dramatic, but you've given them something that's going to improve their lives. And I know people might say that's a bit over the top, it's just a garden, but people spend most of their time in their house or their garden. So that's why it has such a big effect on people. And if they were stressed about their garden beforehand, and you've removed that stress and given them something opposite, something they can enjoy, I mean, that's why it's a fantastic business to be in, is to be able to give someone that service.
Do you ever do check-ins after a project's been completed and go back, say, in a few months' time and just see how they're getting on?
Yeah, we do that. So we go back and just make sure everything's as it should be. So quality checks, really. Quite often we go back and do planting. So if we've made plant beds and stuff like that, at the right time of year, we go back to do planting. So we get to check on it again. And we've got, I've got a couple of friends who have got gardening businesses. So if people, we always get asked at the end, "Great, can you maintain and cut my grass for me?" That's not something we do, but we've got good quality companies that I trust the people, that we could turn around and say, "No, you go and contact these people, and they'll come and do that for you."
Because it must give you a really warm feeling, really case of huge job satisfaction if you go back and they're like, "This has transformed my life." Because like you say, it's not just a garden, it's an escape, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of, for some people, it's not just going to the gym, it's escape.
We've definitely had that in one of our recent projects, in that it changed how the family are together. So this particular project was done as a wellness space within their garden. So it wasn't the full garden, but it was a large section turned into a wellness space because the customer loved taking pictures of wildlife in our garden. So we designed that space around a sanctuary covered under a gazebo, a sanctuary to sit and then watch the wildlife enter the garden around her. A week after, we had a message sent to us to say how amazing it was, because their daughter had come outside to play in the garden for the first time in years, where she didn't normally do that. And then they've sat and had a meal outside as a family because they had space to do a barbecue, which sounds simple, but they'd said they'd never done that as a family. So just from this space, it changed how this family enjoy their garden, and the activities they do out in it. And that was brilliant for me, because it was beyond what I was expecting as a result from that garden, just to say, this has helped wellness of two people in the family and allowed them a space to, go out and eat outside together. Which sounds simple, and loads of people might say, well, we all do that, we all have barbecues, but it was kind of life-changing for these families. Yeah.
Yeah, just amazing. So Hal talked about your favourite bit is the tricky bit in the middle. So how do you approach and manage to bring people's visions to life?
That is the hard part. So you get as much information from them as possible. Any inspiration they have, holidays they've been on, favourite places they go to. So that's kind of that goes into the design element of what it's going to look like at the end. But the most important question, I think, that I ask every single time is, what are you going to use the space for? What do you want to use it for? So that then I don't just come in and say, I can design a garden. You're going to have this, this, and this. And they're a bit like, okay. And then you give them something and they don't really use it at the end. Yeah. That's kind of pointless, really. Yeah. It's their garden, so it needs to be, what they're asking for. So that is a big part of the design process, is what is the end result that you want, and what are you going to do in this space? And then you can start to move pieces around, double spaces up. So, it could be a fire pit area, and that could be moved out of the way, and then it's a barbecue area or it's a seating area, that type of thing.
So what's been the biggest challenge since starting?
Running a business, definitely running a business, and everything that goes on in the background, for you to be able to exist and go and do the bit that you love doing. I didn't realise how much of that was in the background, and I'm still learning every day. But that is the biggest challenge: is get your head round what needs to be done. Try not to stress about it too much, and then find systems about how you're going to make that work, and then how you're going to refine that system to make it easier and easier after that. Or who are you going to employ to take this away from you so that you can be here focusing on this part. And that's a lesson every single day.
And what's next? Anything exciting on the horizon?
So the next thing we are going to move into doing is wellness spaces for offices. So if an office has an outdoor space, we can create a wellness garden or a wellness space. So anyone who's interested in their employees' well-being can create this type of space outside. The challenge with that is not every business owns the outdoor space or have the permission to do anything to it. So alongside outdoor spaces, we're going to do indoor wellness spaces in offices. So depending on the size that's available, kind of seating pod areas with an indoor garden, all made from artificial plants. So it's low maintenance for that business as well. And that'll just be a place for employees to just go and sit down for 10, 15 minutes, de-stress, be surrounded by green, and just have that moment to themselves where they can kind of refocus and then go back to their day's work.
Awesome. And believe it or not, we're almost out of time. So any closing thoughts?
No, other than if you're a business or a person, a domestic person, then if you need a wellness space, get in contact with us. We can come and advise you, or we can come and design something, and we can just come and help you out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. And that brings us to the end of today's episode on Bristol Business Podcast. Thank you so much, Nathan, for joining us today. I'll definitely be getting in touch. And Nathan, where can we find more about Naru?
So if you go to narulandscaping.co.uk, there's all the information you need on there. And there's also a really easy contact form that you can book an hour's consultation with us for us to come and see what your needs are, and potentially give you a quote from then on.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And if you enjoyed the conversation today, make sure to follow, like, subscribe, leave a comment on whatever social channel you're watching us on today. Take care.
Thanks for joining us on the Bristol Business Podcast. Please remember to leave a like, comment and subscribe. If you are interested in appearing or sponsoring the podcast, contact details can be found in the episode description.